Good day, everyone. Today, we will tackle one of the fundamental concepts in environmental hydrodynamics, particularly the boundary layer flow. I am Engineer Lester G. Padilla, a doctoral student taking up a Doctor Engineering major in Water Resources Engineering at Ateneo de Davao University. Understanding this phenomenon is essential in modeling water movement in rivers, designing bridges, and simulating urban drainage systems. It connects theoretical fluid mechanics with practical applications like those seen in Philippine infrastructure system. But before we dive into the topic, here is a quick outline of what we will cover today. First, we will introduce the concept of a boundary layer flow and its significance. Then, we will go over to the basic principles and key parameters that define boundary layer behavior. After that, we will explore real-life applications, especially in environmental hydrodynamics and civil engineering projects. And to sum it up, I wrap up with some key takeaway to reinforce of what we have learned. Now let's begin by understanding what boundary layer flow is, as this section introduces the foundation of our topic. For a brief overview of a pioneering figure in fluid dynamics, Ludwig Prandtl is a German scientist renowned for his work in aerodynamics. He played a crucial role in formalizing the mathematical framework of fluid mechanics. He is most celebrated for introducing the boundary layer theory, which revolutionized the field by simplifying the complex equations governing fluid flow. Boundary layer flow is the thin layer of fluid near a surface where viscosity plays a dominant role. Unlike the outer flow, fluid within this layer experiences strong friction, causing its velocity to drop to zero at the surface. This concept is crucial in fluid dynamics because it affects how fluids behave when in contact with solid boundaries. Even though it is thin, the boundary layer controls key phenomena like drag, heat transfer, and flow separation. From an engineering perspective, understanding boundary layer flow is essential for designing efficient and safe structures. With a clear understanding of what boundary layer flow is and its significance, we now turn our focus to the fundamentals that define its behavior. In this section, we will examine the key concepts behind boundary layer development, including shear stress and the transition between laminar and turbulent flow. These principles form the foundation of how engineers analyze and design systems where fluid interacts with solid boundaries. Prandtl proposed that the flow around a solid body could be separated into two distinct regions, one outside the boundary layer and one within it. The fluid motion outside this thin layer typically exhibits uniform velocity and pressure, behaving in a steady, inviscid, and incompressible manner. In contrast, the region inside the boundary layer is where velocity gradients are steep and viscous forces dominate. This is also the main zone responsible for drag on a surface. Essentially, the frictional forces from the flow within the boundary layer far exceed those from the outer flow. From this illustration, it shows how a thin boundary layer forms around an airfoil. Near the surface, viscosity dominates, causing the flow velocity to rise from zero, due to the non-slip condition, to the free stream velocity at the outer edge of the boundary layer. Outside this thin region, the flow behaves as inviscid, unaffected by viscosity, following smooth streamlines. Now, on the zoom-in view, it illustrates the velocity gradient normal to the surface, showing how the flow transition within the boundary layer. There are two main classifications of boundary layer flow. First is the laminar, and second is the turbulent. Laminar flow is smooth and orderly, producing minimal skin friction drag, though it tends to be less stable. As the flow progresses, the boundary layer thickens gradually. To the right-hand side or below, it demonstrates how the boundary layer theory allows for a significant reduction in complexity, transforming the full Navier-Stokes and continuity equations into a simplified parabolic partial differential equation. Turbulent flow, by contrast, lacks a precise Reynolds number at which transition from laminar occurs, though experiments often observe this change near a Reynolds number of 500,000. Turbulent flow is characterized by chaotic swirls and eddies resulting in considerably higher skin friction, and solving equations for such flows is highly complex due to their time-dependent and irregular nature, and as of now, a universal similarity solution does not exist. No slip condition. This argues that regardless of the smoothness of an object's surface, air will consistently adhere to it, indicating that the velocity at the surface is always zero. Conversely, the free stream velocity refers to the speed of undisturbed air located at a considerable distance from the item. To comprehend this figure or the phenomena occurring between these two extremes, we shall examine the flow over a flat plate. So this is the figure of a flow across a flat plate. When the undisturbed air encounters the leading edge of the plate, it adheres to it due to the no-slip condition. And as the air moves over the plate, the coating of air adhering to it will become increasingly thick. The area where air movement is slower than the undisturbed free air stream is termed by the boundary layer, characterized by the predominance of a viscous forces. Beyond the boundary layer, viscous forces are significantly less critical and are occasionally disregarded in fluid models. A laminar boundary layer consists of air layers moving smoothly and parallel to one another and the surface, whereas a turbulent boundary layer is characterized by vortices and velocity fluctuations in several directions. If the undisturbed air is laminar and there are no disturbances to the flow, the boundary layer will initially be laminar. And as the air traverses the plate, the distance from the leading edge increases. So if we utilize the distance traveled from the leading edge as the characteristic length for our Reynolds number calculation, it is evident that the Reynolds number here will continue to increase as we progress along the plate. When the Reynolds number exceeds a critical threshold, which may vary depending on the application or shape, the laminar boundary layer transitions into a turbulent boundary layer. Here, a turbulent boundary layer has a distinct velocity profile, significantly influencing the separation point as well as the friction and forces acting on the item. In applications such as aircraft, where surfaces are smooth and aerodynamic, it is crucial to maintain a laminar boundary layer for as long as attainable. A turbulent boundary layer elevates friction drag and is generally thicker than a laminar boundary layer, so augmenting the effective thickness of the airfoil and consequently increasing the pressure drag. In simple applications, it may be advantageous to transition the boundary layer into a turbulent state. Turbulent boundary layers transport significantly greater momentum and generally displace the separation point further downstream. The rationale behind the dimples on golf balls, as well as the use of specialized suits and shin take by sportsmen, is to minimize the weight they impart and therefore decrease aerodynamic drag. Now that we have discussed the fundamental concepts, we shall now proceed to the key parameters that govern and influence a boundary layer flow in engineering applications. The Reynolds number is a dimensionless parameter that characterizes the nature of fluid flow. It is used to determine whether a flow is laminar, transitional, or turbulent as shown from the figures a while ago. And this is essential for understanding the behavior of fluids in pipelines, channels, or around any structures. The Reynolds number is a dimensionless quantity that engineers use to predict flow behavior in various fluid systems. It determines whether a flow is laminar, transitional, or turbulent, making it essential to both theoretical analysis and real-world hydraulic designs. The equations for Reynolds number is written as RE equals rho times U times L divided by mu. Now let me explain each term. RE here stands for Reynolds number. It is dimensionless, meaning it has no units. The Greek letter rho represents fluid density, usually expressed in kilograms per cubic meter. U is characteristic velocity of the flow, measured in meters per second. L stands for the characteristic length, such as the diameter of the pipe or the length of a flat plate. And lastly, the Greek letter mu denotes dynamic viscosity expressed in Pascal seconds. By calculating Reynolds number, engineers can classify the flow regime. Again, a low Reynolds number indicates laminar flow, which is smooth and orderly, while a high Reynolds number indicates turbulent flow, which is chaotic and mixed. Next is shear stress at boundaries. Is a fundamental concept also in fluid mechanics. It refers to the tangential force per unit area exerted by the fluid as it moves across a solid surface. Understanding this force is critical when analyzing flow resistance, designing hydraulic structures, and assessing erosion potential along a channel, beds, and walls. The formula for wall shear stress is expressed as tau sub W equals mu times the partial derivative of u with respect to y, evaluated at y equals to 0. Now defining each component. Tau sub W here represents the wall shear stress. It is measured in pascals or newtons per square meter. Mu, again here, stands for the dynamic viscosity of the fluid and is again expressed in Pascal seconds. Lastly, the partial derivative of velocity of u with respect to the perpendicular distance y from the wall. And this term describes the velocity gradient near the boundary. The equation here is evaluated at y equals to 0, which corresponds to the surface of the wall where the no-slip condition applies and where velocity changes most rapidly. This is where the highest shear stress occurs. The dynamic viscosity denoted by mu plays a vital role in this equation or calculation, as it quantifies the fluid's resistance to shear or flow. Fluids with high viscosity, like oil, generate more shear stress for the same velocity gradient than low viscosity fluids like water. This shear stress directly influences friction losses, boundary erosion, and the stability of any hydraulic structures. It is especially relevant in analyzing scour near bridge piers or sediment transport in river beds. Let us now apply the Reynolds number formula in a real-world engineering scenario. The question here is, an engineer from the construction company XY is assessing the flow behavior of water in a 100 mm diameter supply pipe for a barangay level water distribution system. And the average velocity of water is measured to be 1.5 meters per second. The density of water is 998 kilograms per cubic meter. And the dynamic viscosity of water at room temperature is 0.001 Pascal seconds. Now, let us compute the Reynolds number of the flow. And based on the result, let's determine whether the flow is laminar or turbulent. Now, this is the solution. The given values are as follows. The pipe diameter is 100 millimeters or 0.1 meters. The average velocity of water here is 1.5 meters per second. The density of water is 998 kilograms per cubic meter. And the dynamic viscosity of water is 0.001 Pascal seconds. Now, using the Reynolds number formula, we compute RE equals rho times U times D divided by mu. Substituting the values into the formula and multiplying the numerator, 998 times 1.5 times 0.1 is equal to 149.7. Then let's divide it by 0.001 and we will get a Reynolds number of 149,700. This value of 149,700 is well above the threshold of 4,000 as shown in the table at the lower right of the presentation, indicating that the flow is turbulent. As I said a while ago, in turbulent flow, eddies and velocity fluctuations dominate, therefore resulting in greater energy losses and mixing. Knowing the flow regime in the pipe is essential in this as we design it, as it affects friction losses, pressure drop, and the long-term integrity of the system. Now let's explore how these principles of boundary layer flow are applied in real-life environmental hydrodynamic scenarios, especially relevant to engineering practice. First is, boundary layer flow plays a critical role in understanding erosion processes along riverbanks and coastal zones. As water flows over a surface, a boundary layer develops and shear stress builds near the bed or shoreline. And this localized shear stress influences the initiation and transport of sediments, which can lead to scouring and progressive erosion of our unprotected embankments. When the shear stress exceeds the critical threshold, now the soil particles detach and are now carried away by the flow. This is why boundary layer theory is essential for civil and environmental engineers. It informs us the design of our revetments, gabions, and seawalls, like this example in Davao City Coastal Bypass Road, which serve to resist these shear forces. Next, in open channel flow, such as irrigation canals or canals, a boundary layer forms along the bed where the fluid interacts with the canal surface. And this velocity gradient near the bottom determines the bed shear stress, which directly affects sediment behavior. For example, in irrigation systems, excessive shear stress may cause erosion of the canal bed, while insufficient shear may result in silt deposition, reducing the flow capacity of the canal of the irrigation system. Hence, engineers use boundary layer principles to analyze and control these effects. And this analysis guides the selection of canal lining materials, the design of slope geometry, and the maintenance schedule for sediment removal. The goal here is to maintain efficient flow while ensuring the structural integrity of the canal over time. Next example is the bridge piers and scour protection. When water flows around a bridge piers, for example, it creates complex interactions due to boundary layer separation and vortex formation. And these vortices intensify local shear stress and result in scour, which is the removal of sediment around the bridge foundation. Understanding how the boundary layer behaves near the pier is essential for predicting the depth and pattern of our scouring. And this analysis enables bridge engineers to design effective scour protection systems such as riprap linings, concrete aprons, or any reinforced abutment protections. And without such measures, scour can compromise the stability of our bridge foundation, therefore posing serious safety risks and increasing maintenance costs. Again, boundary layer theory here is a key tool in ensuring the resilience and safety of any hydraulic bridge structure. Last example here is in vegetated floodplains and wetlands. The flow interacts with dense cluster of plants, stems, and roots, forming complex boundary layers. These interactions slow down the flow, increase turbulence, and create unique velocity profiles within the vegetation zone. This behavior significantly influences flood routing as water movement is delayed and redistributed. It also affects nutrient transport, sediment deposition, and habitat modeling for aquatic and riparian ecosystems. For engineers and environmental planners, understanding these boundary layer effects is essential in eco-hydrological planning, where the goal is to balance flood control with environmental conservation. It guides decisions in wetlands restorations, biodiversity protection, and sustainable land use near flood-prone areas. HECRAS, which stands for Hydrologic Engineering Center's River Analysis System, is a powerful freeware developed by the United States Army Corps of Engineers. It is widely used for one-dimensional and two-dimensional hydraulic modeling of rivers, natural channels, and floodplains. In the Philippines, government agencies such as DPWH or the Department of Public Works and Highways, DENR, and all local government units extensively use HECRAS software for hydraulic and hydrologic simulations due to its reliability, and accessibility, and at the same time, it is a freeware. Key applications include floodplain mapping in river systems such as Davao River, Pasig River in Luzon, scar analysis to assess and prevent structural damage around bridge foundations, and river rehabilitation studies, including sediment transport modeling. This freeware tool enables engineers and planners to make a data-driven decisions in flood control, infrastructure design, and even in environmental protection. Its ability to simulate complex interactions between flow, terrain, and hydraulic structures makes this freeware indispensable for building climate-resilient and sustainable water management systems in our country, or from any country. So as a key takeaway, mastering the principles of boundary layer flow empowers engineers and environmental planners to shape water's path with precision, bridging the science and nature in the pursuit of resilient and sustainable infrastructure. Boundary layer flow is not just a theoretical concept, it governs the performance, safety, and resilience of real-world hydraulic and environmental infrastructure. Whether designing water supply systems, modeling floods, or protecting bridge foundations from scar, understanding flow regimes and shear stress is essential for sustainable and climate-driven engineering infrastructure facilities. And mastering these fundamentals prepares us engineers to tackle pressing water resource challenges amid a changing climate. That's all, and good day.